Picture this. The night of April 15th, 2022. Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas, Nevada. Tens of thousands of armies from every corner of the world have been standing for hours, screaming, crying, jumping. The air inside that stadium is electric, not just from the heat of the crowd, but from an energy that no words can properly describe. And then, 1 second, one single movement. Park Jimin takes off his jacket, and Las Vegas was never the same after that night. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into one of the most iconic, most viral, and most unforgettable moments in BTS concert history. A moment on day 3 of Permission to Dance on Stage Las Vegas that made the entire world stop breathing. Stay right here. We are just getting started. Before we get to that epic moment, we need a little context. Because if you don't understand how massive this event truly was, you will never fully grasp why one single movement from Jimin managed to shake the entire internet. Permission to Dance on Stage Las Vegas was part of a BTS concert tour that fans had been waiting for with everything they had. After nearly 2 years of no offline concerts due to the COVID-19 pandemic, BTS finally returned to a physical stage, and the world erupted. For consecutive nights, April 8th, April 9th, April 15th, and April 16th, 2022, all held at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada, the same stadium that hosts NFL games. A venue built to hold tens of thousands of people, and every single ticket, gone in minutes. Armies who couldn't even get tickets still flew to Las Vegas just to breathe the same air. The streets of Las Vegas turned purple, the color of BTS, the color of ARMY. The famous Strip, which is normally lit up with casino signs and neon tourist traps, was suddenly flooded with purple light sticks and shirts bearing the names of BTS members. Las Vegas had officially been renamed, at least in the hearts of ARMY, Bora Vegas. Bora means purple in Korean. Hey means I give it to you. Bora Vegas, a city surrendered entirely to the color purple. And on the third night, April 15th, 2022, something happened. Something that was not on any official set list. Something that nobody planned. Something that could only come from Park Jimin. April 15th was not an ordinary night. After the first 2 nights, April 8th and 9th, which were already nothing short of extraordinary, both BTS and ARMY had a short break before the second weekend. There was a gap between the first and second run of shows. And that gap did nothing but make the longing more intense. When the doors of Allegiant Stadium swung open for day 3, ARMY arrived with an energy that was somehow even wilder than the nights before. They had been saving their voices, saving their energy, saving their tears. All of it for this night. BTS themselves seemed different on this third night. If days 1 and 2 had an air of sharp, focused professionalism, day 3 felt looser, freer, more raw, more spontaneous. They already knew this stadium. They already knew how ARMY would respond. They already knew what kind of energy was in that room. And they decided to give absolutely everything. The concert exploded open with high-voltage tracks like On, Burning Up, Fire, and Dope. Songs that turned the entire stadium into a shaking, screaming mass of humanity. BTS introduced themselves one by one. RM, Jin, Suga, Jhope, Jimin, V, and Jungkook. And every single name was met with screaming so loud it felt like the roof might lift off. Jimin stepped onto that stage, already stunning before he had even done anything. His outfit, precise and impeccable as always. His movements, fluid, controlled, as if his body was not built like other people's, but was designed specifically to move in ways nobody else could. But nobody yet knew what was coming next. Dramatic pause. And then we arrived at that moment. In the middle of a performance that was already burning, in the middle of stage lights slicing through the darkness of the stadium, Park Jimin stood at the center of it all and did something simple. Except nothing about the way he did it was simple at all. He took off his jacket. Not just removed it. Not just tossed it aside. This was Jimin. A man whose walk alone has trended on social media. A man who can make 50,000 people hold their breath by simply tilting his head. As that jacket slid off his shoulders, Jimin's movement slowed as if time itself slowed down with him. Every detail felt intentional, even if it wasn't. And that is exactly what makes Jimin so extraordinary. The things that look effortless and natural from him feel like art that was prepared over years and years of perfecting. And the stadium's response? One word: chaos. Screaming filled Allegiant Stadium at a volume that could probably be heard from outside the building. Armies who had already been screaming since the show began somehow found more energy, more voice, more everything. Cameras caught faces that can't quite be described in words. Mouths wide open, eyes enormous, hands flying up to cover faces in complete disbelief. On social media, the moment spread in literal seconds. Short clips filmed by trembling hands on shaking phones were shared thousands of times on Twitter, now known as X. Hashtags connected to Jimin and Las Vegas exploded to the top of trending charts. Comments poured in from every language: Korean, English, Spanish, Portuguese, Japanese, Indonesian, all saying essentially the same thing in entirely different ways. The consensus: Jimin is not humanly possible, and we simply cannot cope. Now, maybe some of you are thinking, okay, but how big a deal is this really? It's just a jacket. Plenty of artists take off their jackets at concerts. And the answer is, yes, you're right. Plenty of artists do take off their jackets. But nobody does it like Jimin. There are a few reasons why this moment was so much more than just taking off a jacket. First, the emotional weight of that night was already enormous. The PTD Las Vegas concert was not just entertainment. It was a reunion. After 2 years of a pandemic that physically separated BTS from their army, this was one of the first times they could be together face-to-face in massive numbers again. Every moment inside that stadium carried extra weight, extra meaning, extra emotion. Even something as small as Jimin waving at the crowd was already enough to make fans cry. So when something as powerful as the jacket moment happened, the impact multiplied tenfold. Second, Jimin is simply a performer in a category of his own. Since debut, Jimin has been recognized as one of the most expressive and most soul-stirring performers in the K-pop industry. He trained at an arts high school, specializing in contemporary dance and modern jazz. Every movement he makes goes through a deeply felt process, even when it appears completely spontaneous. The way he moves on stage never feels ordinary. There is always something more depth, more feeling, more life. And when people are already accustomed to that standard, even a small motion like taking off a jacket becomes its own performance. Third, there is the matter of his brand power, and we have to talk about it. Jimin is not just a singer. He is a brand. As of March 2022 alone, Jimin had held the #1 spot on the Korean Idol Brand Reputation Index for 39 consecutive months. 39 months. That is not a normal number. That is proof of influence that is consistent, global, and deeply embedded. So when Jimin showed up in Las Vegas, wearing a specific accessory, carrying a specific bag, putting on a specific pair of sunglasses, armies worldwide rushed to those brand websites immediately. The Jimin effect doesn't just move emotions. It moves global commerce. And the jacket moment? That was the peak of everything Park Jimin had spent years building on the stage. If you want to understand just how large the impact of that moment was, all you had to do was open Twitter on the night of April 15th, 2022, and you would have seen everyone talking about the same exact thing. Tweets carrying the words Jimin, jacket, and Las Vegas flooded every timeline. From the serious and eloquent, Park Jimin just reminded everyone why he's Park Jimin, to the funny and completely over the top. I was not prepared. I need to call my therapist. The way he took off that jacket should be illegal in 195 countries. Laughter. And it wasn't only ARMY reacting. Entertainment media from countries all over the world ran coverage. Global K-pop platforms broke down every second of the moment. Even people who were not ARMY and had never seriously followed BTS joined the conversation. One of the most fascinating parts of all of this was how the moment didn't just travel among longtime fans. It became an entry point for countless people who had never seriously explored BTS before. So many people said, "I saw a clip of Jimin in Las Vegas and now I'm ARMY. My life changed." And on TikTok, don't even get started. Videos capturing that moment racked up millions of views in almost no time. Edits of Jimin using footage from that night appeared endlessly, set to all kinds of music, BTS songs, dramatic Western tracks, completely random songs that somehow worked perfectly. The comments were just as viral as the videos themselves. He knew exactly what he was doing. New casualties, the 1 million people who just became ARMY because of this video. But beyond all the virality, there is something more important to talk about. The Jimin Las Vegas Day 3 moment is not the kind of thing that trends and then gets forgotten. It is part of the legacy of an artist who continues to grow, continues to evolve, and continues to prove himself at every turn. Since BTS debuted in 2013, Jimin has always been one of the most closely watched members when it comes to performance. He is not simply a dancer. He is a storyteller on the stage. Every piece of choreography, every expression, every tiny detail of his performance tells a story. And Las Vegas Day 3 is one of the most beautiful chapters in that story. After Las Vegas, Jimin's journey kept moving forward. His first solo album, Face, dropped in March 2023 and immediately shook global charts. The lead single, Like Crazy, reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, a historic milestone, making him the first Korean solo artist to ever top the world's most prestigious music chart. Then his second solo album, Muse, arrived in July 2024, released even while Jimin was actively serving his mandatory military service. Proof that dedication and talent cannot be stopped by anything. And what everyone is waiting for most. After completing his military service, Jimin will return to the stage alongside BTS. And every time he steps back into those lights, moments like Las Vegas Day 3 will not be forgotten. They will become the standard against which every new performance is measured, pushing expectations higher and higher every time. Because that is what Jimin does. He does not just meet expectations. He redefines what is possible on a stage. As we reach the end of this video, I want to say something a little deeper. The moment of Jimin taking off his jacket in Las Vegas might look like a small thing. One action on one night out of hundreds of concert nights he has already had and will have again. But that small moment carries something enormous inside it. It carries years of dedication. Training that never stopped even when his body was exhausted. A relentless drive to always give the absolute best, even when no one was demanding it. And a genuine love for ARMY, the people who have faithfully walked beside every single step of this journey. Jimin has spoken about how he performs not for himself, but for the people watching. That he wants every person who sees him on stage to feel something they cannot feel anywhere else. And on Las Vegas, the night of April 15th, 2022, he succeeded completely. Tens of thousands of people inside Allegiant Stadium felt something that night they will carry for the rest of their lives. Millions of people who watched the clips online felt something that made them stop, rewind, and watch it over and over again. That is art. That is what separates a performer from a star. That is Park Jimin. So that's it. The moment that made Las Vegas Day 3 unforgettable. A moment that, even years later, is still being talked about, still being replayed, still making hearts race every single time a clip appears in someone's timeline. If you've watched this video all the way through, thank you. You are part of a community that celebrates art, celebrates music, and celebrates the moments that make life feel more alive. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because we are going to keep covering the most iconic moments in K-pop history. And comment down below. Tell me, where did you first see the Jimin Las Vegas clip? And what was your reaction? Until next time, stay purple, stay ARMY. Purple Heart.